So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about battleships. We've done cruisers, we've done destroyers, so there's only one thing left to talk about, and that's, of course, the big, the bad, the battleships. So, for battleships wise, there's a couple different builds. A lot of people like to talk about doing secondary spec battleships. Other people prefer to go for survivability. Generally speaking, though, either way, there's, in my opinion, a core build that you want to follow up with, and so that's what we're going to take a look at here. Okay. You don't need 21 point captains, of course, to do this. This is just like what you start with, your initial 10 or 14 points. So generally speaking in battleships, if I'm going for the survivability route, I'm going to go with Emergency Repair Specialist. It helps me get my DCP available quicker and also my repair party available quicker. It's 3%, not much, but sometimes that 3% actually does have an impact. Now from there, I personally like to go priority target next. In a battleship, I want to know how many people are targeting me. I want to know where those people might be. If I've got 5 targeting me, I'm looking at the minimap trying to figure out where could those shells be coming from. That helps me understand where to angle. Most importantly, against destroyers, it gives me an idea of how I want to, basically when I want to start trying to dodge. And that's really important for me to figure out. So I like using priority target. Next up, if you're doing survivability, you go for basics of survivability. That gets you basically reduced time for fire and flood. And then you typically will go for concealment expert. Even on battleships, concealment expert is very handy because it means that you can go dark-ish sooner. So if you're playing at medium range, you do have the ability, in a lot of cases, to stop firing, turn away, and you won't be detected for a while. That gives you time for your repair party to come back, for your heal to come back. So concealment is a very useful skill. Now, after that to me is my core build for survivability battleship. After that's done, the next thing I'll typically do is I'll go for fire prevention. Fire prevention is huge because it reduces your chances of catching fire, but most importantly, because you can only be on fire in 3 locations instead of 4. This makes it so that if you use your DCP, let's say you take a torpedo or something like that, you get set fire again. The only fires you can have is 3 of them instead of 4. So it comes in handy there. Okay, so for me, that would be my core build. That's 7, that's 14 points that are used, okay? After that, if I'm doing a survivability battleship, I'm going to use Emergency Repair Expert. That gives me 1 extra charge of damage control party consumable. That's very useful in Russian battleships and the new German battleship line because they do not have infinite damage control parties. And then, of course, the DCP is available for 10% longer, which is kind of nice. Also, the repair party is available for 10% longer too, and you get an extra charge of repair party. So that synergizes really well with a defensive tank build battleship. And then from there, you've got 3 points left. You could go Adrenaline Rush, or you could also go improved repair party readiness. It's really up to you which of those 2 you want to go. Battleships do have a heal, and so getting this extra reload time for your repair party is kind of nice. This does synergize well with, say, like a Georgia, which already has really quick reloading repair party. But generally speaking, I think Adrenaline Rush is going to be your better choice because that speeds up the reload of your main battery and your secondaries. Also, it buffs your anti-air. If you're being a tank and you're losing more and more hit points, that kind of synergizes well with that. That helps buff your guns a little bit. So that's what I would do for a tank build battleship, and that's your standard build for pretty much every battleship in this game. That's my core build right there, followed by Emergency Repair Specialist, and then one of those 2 other skills. Okay, that's how I run it. This is good for American battleships, good for German non-secondary battleships. This is good for French battleships, again non-secondary. British battleships, etc., etc., etc. You're pretty much going to run this core build. All right, chat. Feel free to chime in, by the way, with any questions, any comments that goes along with this. Now, let's talk about a secondary spec battleship. If you want to go full secondary, full damage, well, this one is kind of nice, Demolition Expert. In this case, in a secondary spec, you're mainly trying to buff HE shells. You're mainly trying to buff your secondaries, which fire HE. So Demolition Expert does just that. For your tier 2 skill, depending on the ship, you could take IFHE. I still think Priority Target is worth taking. I still go Priority Target if I'm doing a secondary spec focus. And then from there, I definitely want to boost off my secondaries. So that would be my next skill. And then once again, I'm taking Concealment Expert, because secondaries are really nice. As you get closer, basically your concealment, you want to get closer to your target before you unleash hell. And especially in the new German battleships, concealment does really help. Matthew says, Grease the Gears is a must on most battleships. Grease the Gears is also a really good skill if you're going to be playing medium to long range. It's helpful, and especially if you're really close, that's also very handy as well. Now, once you've got that core set up, you'd probably want to go for manual secondary battery aiming. And then you've got a few choices. You could go close quarters combat to boost your main battery load time by 10%. I kind of feel like if you're playing close quarters, it's more important that your guns are on target. So here's where I would definitely go Grease the Gears. And especially if you're using an American commander that's got a bonus to Grease the Gears, it synergizes really well. You could choose IFHE, but like I said, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Let's take a look at this. The 127s penetrate 21 millimeters armor already. IFHE bumps that up to 26 millimeters. What do you gain from that? Really not much. All you gain from that is essentially your heavy cruisers at lower tier. Because heavy cruisers at higher tier go up to 27 millimeters. So you don't get a lot out of IFHE for American battleships.
And destroyers typically only, the minimum armor for a destroyer at higher tiers will only exceed 19. If the penetration, like for example, Italians only get 90 millimeters, it's not worth taking IFHE on them. Germans get a penetration bonus, so it's like Zath said, it all depends on what kind of ship you're taking.
Yeah, destroyers, you want to take some time and think about who your primary target's going to be. So that's why I would definitely go with Adrenaline Rush as the next point skill, and then you've got a couple of options. I see Cthulhu saying, I always take Gunfeeder for rapid switches between HE and AP. Personally, I think that's useful, but in my opinion, only if you get a buff to Gunfeeder, if you get the 75% reduction. Even 50% reduction here, what's your main battery reload time? 27.5 seconds. So 13 seconds, 13 and 3/4 seconds is still a long time for an enemy to react. If they were broadside and you wanted to shoot AP, it's not going to work. Get that down by 75%, and that's kind of sexy. But, I mean,
Luigi is a good commander for it.
You can always decide what you would like to run. Brisk is hilarious. I wouldn't run it. If you're worried that you're going to be in getting torpedoed and stuff because you're playing a secondary battleship and you're closer to things, honestly, Vigilance is not a bad decision there, because it does allow you to see torpedoes at a longer range. It does, I believe, synergize with Hydro, so if you're a German battleship, that comes in handy. Also, if you take torpedoes, you can see you get 7% less damage, so that's kind of nice. Personally, what I would probably take with the last 2 points, I would probably go with the Emergency Repair Specialist, and what else? If I've got torpedoes in my battleship, my secondary, I would definitely go Preventative Maintenance, so that those torpedo launchers don't get stunned or taken out as much. What is up there, Seven? How's it going? And Mr. October, thank you for the sub. We are doing our Zath chat right now. You guys are welcome to join in. You too as well, Seven. And thank you again. Seven, by the way, took care of helping tweak my mic so that everything sounds beautiful and perfect. So thank you, Seven, so much for doing that. And Sergeant Sully, hello. Thank you for the sub. Stuff's great. Whitaker's for everyone, but you all have to be very good. Yeah, right. So this is what I would do for a secondary spec battleship, especially a German secondary spec battleship that's got torpedoes. But the nice thing is, with commander skills, you have the ability to decide what matters most to you. But like I said, for a secondary spec, this is what I choose. Now, you could also go anti-air defense and ASW if you wanted to, by the way. But for me, I want to know, I want to get my fire chance up. I want to know who's targeting me, how many, and then I want my secondaries to be stronger. I want to buff their abilities. I want to, I forgot concealment. So I would probably go secondary range, concealment. There it is. I would do that order. And then from there, I want to intensify my forward batteries. I want my guns to turn faster because I'm brawling more. And then from there, dealer's choice, whatever works for you. If you hate aircrafts and subs, well, there's a app for that, basically. Now, French battleships are a little unique. Oh, I hit the wrong button.
Little is an understatement.
I'm sorry. Hold on a sec. I need to turn you back up. You were typing a lot, and I turned you down so people didn't hear all that noise. Okay. What did you say?
Little is an understatement.
Yeah. Let's go with the Jean
Flandre's
Bart.
a good one.
Huh?
That one too.
Yeah. And let's just throw. Now this guy's already set. As you can see, I used my core build on this. I also used Grease the Gears for the Jean Bart. Let me pick a different commander. There. Okay. So for a secondary spec French battleship, one of the problems is these 100mm guns will only penetrate 17mm of armor. What that means is that these won't even penetrate the superstructure of destroyers. So if your main focus is on killing destroyers, you definitely need IFHE to buff that up to 21mm. Note that your fire chance is halved, so you have to keep that in mind. But that does come in very handy. You see that your 152s only penetrate 31mm though. So some people, when they play their French secondary spec battleships, they don't care about not penetrating destroyers. And their focus is on getting these 100mm to hit and cause fires on battleships. So you could do that too. It comes down to what you prefer. But that core build applies pretty much to every battleship, whether you're doing secondary or if you want to do a tank build. It's really up to you guys. Chat, did I miss anything? Battleships I feel like are kind of easy. There's only two main ones that you go with. So if there's any other kinds of ships you want to need me to talk through, let me know. If not, we're moving in to our good stuff.
I mean, there are a few notable exceptions to odd-end battleships, like, what am I trying to remember? Roma. She's good running stealth and running swift in silence, or brisk as it is. Namely because when you're running a stealth battleship, the few that do end up existing, it's not a bad idea. Like Atlantico, too, she's quite slow. As long as you can maintain stealth, it keeps her in the fight. It's not going to help her outrun anything, but it's definitely worthwhile to occasionally take it. Or heck, one of my favorite ships to run it on is, what's her name?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember it was the French Curate that I was...
Gascon?
No, Flandre.
Oh, the Flandre, yeah.
Flandre is quite quick. Like, she can hit 35, and not many battleships can boast that feat.
Yep.
And full stealth rig, you can bring that thing down to 12-7, meaning you can get in, bully, and then get out if you really wanted.
Sure.
And I run the IHFE secondary build on her, too.
And so that's what I was talking about earlier, guys, is that generally speaking, you're going to use the core build, and then you spec out from there whatever skills you want to do in order to, make your ship do what you want it to do. So.
Dang, I didn't know Flandre's torp protection was that high. That's nuts. Sorry for derailing.
It's okay. And I didn't talk about this yet, but let's discuss like a middle to low tier battleship. So let's talk about a tier 6, for example. Now, a tier 6 battleship, honestly, it's going to be very similar. You're going to, once again, go with your core build. If you're going to do a tank build, or, well, frankly, there's less options because a secondary spec ship doesn't really work at tier 6, does it? So
Unless it's German.
this would probably be it for just about every battleship that you run, except the new German battleship line. Good point. Lyon and the Normandy, the French battleships, you could try to get away with doing a secondary spec. The original German battleships, I wouldn't start the secondaries until you get to the tier 7 Gneisenau, if you want to go into secondary FUD. The tier 6, it's not so good. So that's
premium, I forget what she is, but you're right.
The premium German?
Yeah, her
Prince
secondaries.
Ido?
Her secondaries are quite effective. Although I will only ever play her in operations.
Yeah, Prince Idol is fantastic, and of course she synergizes so well with Lutyens on a secondary build. So as you can see, I ran for this secondary build. Now in this case, I went for fire prevention instead of concealment because what I've started doing is I've started playing secondary spec battleships very much like cruisers, to the point where I use islands to advance on my prey without them seeing me. So I feel comfortable dropping concealment, but for most people, I think concealment's still the better perk to pick over fire prevention. And then you can see here in this case, I also added some basics of survivability too.
Clever girl.
Is there a premium UK battleship with good secondaries? Quad Q? No. No, there is not. So you're not going to want to run that, unfortunately. Tier 5...
will always be funny.
Oh, yeah, okay, right, you're right. The Agincourt is an option, I suppose, if you really want to build out a secondary British. The thing about doing a secondary British is you're going to end up with a dedicated captain as opposed to a captain trainer. So you need to decide for yourself what matters most to you. See, this thing's got... You get back out of here. And you can see it's filled to the brim with guns, secondaries, and primaries. So you could definitely run a secondary build on the Agincourt. I know a lot of people that do. It's just... Yeah, you know.
It's a dedicated captain. You can't really use them for anything else.
Yeah, you're not gonna throw him off of a tech tree ship and then put him into the Agincourt, spec it for secondaries, and go back to the tech tree ship. You're just gimping yourself. Repulse, I don't know that Repulse's secondaries are really that worth it. They only reach out to 5 kilometer standard, and to me, Repulse is more about speed, relocation, and concealment. So I would definitely go the concealment build with her.
A case could be made for the sole fact that you can close the gap to where it doesn't really matter, but they're not going to do enough damage to warrant you doing it.
No, even in ranked, I never really felt like I wish that I had secondaries spec'd on my Repulse. Oh, there's a triple secondary. That's weird. But anyways.
Yeah, and those triple secondaries, I've actually secondary rigged out of curiosity. Those things are not accurate, even if you tighten them.
Yeah.
Those 3 guns, you'll just see them spray wide.
Yep. All right, well, I think that pretty much covers the Zath chat on Battleship builds. Not too much to discuss there, but chat in Twitch, and later when you guys see this on YouTube, you tell me, what's your favorite build? Share it, let's have some fun. Do you go secondaries? Do you go survivability? Do you have some weird things like what I Hate Monday said about Roma and Brisk? Let us know in the comments. Always fun to see what you have. Only 2 builds and a couple minor hybrid. Yeah, exactly, Hoojam. That's pretty much what I do too. Until then, thanks for watching. And guys, we're going to move to Stream Raiders